Hello, welcome once again to another video for your English Premier League predictions. I hope you had a wonderful game week last week and you had some great results and things went your way and you cashed in on them winnings. Right, and we're going to head straight into it. And so we're going to have some midweek games this week and then we're going to have some games on the weekends as well. And we're going to pick this game week up on Tuesday. And so we're going to start with Brighton versus Nottingham Forest. And our predictions for this game is that we expect Brighton to win this one. Brighton to win. And in terms of both teams scoring, I'm going to say no, both teams won't score. In terms of combination bet, I would go for Brighton, go for either team to win and both not to score. In terms of my predicted scoreline for this game, I'm going to say Brighton is going to win this one 3-0. In terms of anytime goal scorers, I would go with I'm just going to run through the usual suspects, and the usual suspects here will be Danny Welbeck, Leandro Trossard, that is. And also you have Pascal Gross. He's due a goal. He's overdue a goal based on his early season form. That he can score as well. And also on the Nottingham Forest side of football, you have Brennan Johnson, and you have Morgan Gibbs-White. He gets a lot of opportunities, but let's see if he scores. And also Dennis, if he starts, he can score as well. So all of those guys are guys that we have to look out for. But for me, for this game, I'm going to go with in terms of my anytime goal scorer, I'm going to go with Danny Welbeck be my anytime goal scorer here. And so I'm going to take Danny Welbeck to be my anytime goal scorer. So recapping my predictions for the Brighton versus Nottingham Forest game, I'm taking Brighton to win this one, Brighton being the home team here. And also I'm going to say here both teams not to score. In terms of a combination bet, I'm going with Brighton or Nottingham Forest to win and both teams not to score. In terms of a predicted scoreline, I'm going to say here 3-0 in favor of Brighton. And my anytime goal scorer for this game is Danny Welbeck. Alright, so those are my predictions for the Brighton versus Nottingham Forest game. And so we're going to move on to our next game here on Tuesday, and this is Crystal Palace versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. Wolverhampton Wanderers are still searching to find some form, that is, and they have been off. I don't know what seems to be the problem there at Wolverhampton, but they haven't been the mutual selves, and so I'm expecting that their poor run of form to continue. They managed to win a game last game week, and I think they won it 1-0, yeah. And at the end of the day, it worked out for them. And so let's head straight into this. And for this game here, Crystal Palace versus Wolverhampton Wanderers, I'm going to take Crystal Palace to win this one. And in terms of combination bet, I would go with either team to win and both to score. Right. And in terms of a predicted scoreline, I'm going to say here, I'm going to take Crystal Palace to win this one 3-1. And in terms of anytime goal scorer, I'm going to return to the usual suspects here. And you have Zaha, you have Mateta if he starts. Eduardo is usually a good finisher, but he has been off late. Well, not off late since he came to the Premiership. And you have Eze as well. You have Jordan Ayew. You have Schlupp, always seems to find a goal. You have Elise, who can score one as well. And on the Wolverhampton side of football, depends on how many minutes Costa gets, then he can score a goal as well. Gears, Podence, yes, Adama Traore overdue a goal. I have Ruben Neves as well. I have Matheus Nunes. So all of those guys can come up and give you a goal on any of these given days. So for this game, I'm going to go with Jean-Philippe Mateta to be my anytime goal scorer here. I'm going to take him to score anytime at any point in this game. And so I'm going to recap my predictions for the Crystal Palace versus Wolverhampton game. And I'm going to take Crystal Palace to win this one. In terms of a combination bet, I would say either team to win and both to score. My predicted scoreline for this game is 3-1 in favor of Crystal Palace. And my anytime goal scorer is Jean-Philippe Mateta. Alright, so those are my predictions for the Wolverhampton versus Crystal Palace game. And now we're going to move on to Wednesday, and we're going to have here Bournemouth FC versus Southampton. Southampton managed to get a win. Well, it was a drawn match. Sorry about that. It was a 1-1 draw between themselves and West Ham. Bournemouth managed to beat Fulham also over the weekend, and so I'm just going to head straight into my predictions for this game. And for this game here, I'm going to take this one be a draw. All right, yeah, I'm going to say this one is going to be a draw. I'm expecting both teams to score. In terms of score line here, I'm predicting a 1-1 draw. And so therefore, in terms of my anytime goal scorers for this game, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run through the usual suspects here. For Bournemouth, we have Solanke, we have Philip Billin, and we have let's see here who else we have. We have also you have some more. He scored over the weekends. Again, he's someone you can look over. He always provides an assist. Also, Junior Stanislas, a good player in the past. He's yet to feature this season. He's coming back from an injury, but usually provides you with goals, and so therefore, I'm saying you could expect a goal from him too as well. You're someone you have to look out for. Also on the Southampton side of the football, you have Shea Adams, you have Mara, you have Ward-Prowse, you have Adam Armstrong. Depending on the amount of minutes he gets, he can score as well. And also you have I think there you have well, Colorado Peters is more of a provider, so you usually don't get much from him in terms of goals. But for me, I'm going to give you my anytime goal scorer now, and I'm going to go with Dominic Solanke. Alright, Dominic Solanke to be my anytime goal scorer in this game. Sorry about that, my humblest apologies. Alright then, recapping predictions for the Bournemouth vs Southampton game. I'm expecting this game to end in a draw, and I'm expecting both teams to score. In terms of a predicted scoreline, I'm saying 1-1 here, and my anytime goal scorer to be Dominic Solanke. Alright, so we're going to move on to our next game, and the next game is Brentford versus Chelsea. Brentford versus Chelsea. For this game, Brentford versus Chelsea here. Alright, let's see. Brentford versus Chelsea. We're expecting Chelsea to do the job here, but I'm also expecting both teams to score. And in terms of a combination bet, we're going to go with either team to win and both to score. Yes. All right. In terms of predicted scoreline, I'm going to say here we're going to end up with a 3-1 win for Chelsea. And in terms of anytime goal scorer, running through the usual suspects, we have Ivan Toney, we have Mbuma, who is due a goal. Wissa is usually the super sub. Can come on and score. Damsgaard, this is usually a player who you can get a goal from as well as Da Silva and Canas. In terms of the defenders, you never know what you can get from Jensen. I think Jensen is out, and also Rico Henry, he can pop up as well, but you never know. Alright, then on the Chelsea side of football, you have Aubameyang. If he starts, if he gets enough time, he can score. Kai Havertz, Sterling, Pulisic. Mason Mount scored 2 goals in the last game. He seems to be finding some form now. Also Gallagher, depends on the amount of times he gets, he can score as well. And so therefore, my anytime goal scorer for this game, I'm going to go with I'm going to take my anytime goal scorer to come from Chelsea. I'm going to take my anytime goal scorer to be Raheem Sterling. Alright, so Raheem Sterling to be my anytime goal scorer in this game. So recapping my predictions for the Brentford versus Chelsea game, I'm expecting Chelsea to win. I'm expecting also both teams to score. In terms of a combination bet, I'd say either to win and both to score. In terms of predicted scoreline, I'm saying here 3-1 in favor of Chelsea, and my anytime goal scorer to be Raheem Sterling. Alright, so those are my predictions for the Brentford versus Chelsea game, and we're going to move right along to Liverpool versus West Ham. And Liverpool is coming off a victory against Man City 1-0, but it was a good enough victory for them. Mohamed Salah scored. In the end, he could have got more than 1 goal. Darwin Núñez hadn't been for Darwin Núñez, who was a little bit selfish. First, let's just jump straight into the predictions for Liverpool versus West Ham. So, Liverpool versus West Ham predictions. Expecting Liverpool to win this one. In terms of both teams scoring, I'm going to say no, both teams not to score. In terms of a combination bet, I will go for either team to win and both not to score. Predicted scoreline for me here, I'm going with a 3-0 victory for Liverpool. Otherwise, I think it's 2-0. Also, my anytime goal scorer, I'm going to do the usual suspects here. I have Mohamed Salah, Darwin Núñez, Firmino, Jota. I think Jota is injured. I don't think Jota will be playing that game. It seems as if he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. Might miss the World Cup as well. Also, you have Harvey Elliott, and also you have here Carvalho. Depending on the amount of time I get, he can score as well. On the West Ham side of football, you have Skamaka, you have Antoine. I think Antoine is coming back from an injury. I don't know if he'll get much time there. Gerard Bowen as well. Bainarama has not been getting much time in the Premiership. Lanzini, Fornell, Suchek, the guy who always has a goal in him. Yeah, so those guys can score. But for me, my anytime goal scorer, I'm going to take him from Liverpool. I'm going to take Roberto Firmino. Roberto Firmino to be my anytime goal scorer here. So recapping predictions for Liverpool versus West Ham, I'm expecting Liverpool to win. I'm expecting both teams not to score. In terms of a combination bet, I'd say either to win and both not to score. Predicted scoreline 3-0 in favor of Liverpool, and my anytime goal scorer to be Roberto Firmino. Alright, so those are my predictions for the Liverpool versus West Ham game, and then we're going to jump on over to Newcastle versus Everton. Newcastle versus Everton. Yeah, yes, for this game, I'm expecting it to be a close one. Everton, they've been doing well defensively, and as we all know, Newcastle has been one of the most consistent teams defensively in this league over the past, let's say, about 6 or 8 months. Right, so for this game now, it's gonna be a close one, I believe, and I think the possibility of this game ending in a draw is a very high one. To be honest with you, I think it's a high possibility that this game might end in a draw. But Newcastle being at home and the kind of form that they've been in, I'm going to go with them to win. And I'm going to say here that yes, both teams are going to score. And in terms of a combination bet, I will go with either to win and both to score. Alright, in terms of a predicted scoreline here, I'm going to take a 2-1 victory for Newcastle. And also, we're going to head on over to our anytime goal scorer. And my anytime goal scorer, the usual suspect, you have Callum Wilson. You have Bruno Guimaraes, you have Almiron, you have Joe Linton as well, and you have Willock. He's usually a guy who can score as well. Trippier is your goal based on, usually gives you a goal, so he can come up and score as well. Dominic Calvert-Lewin on the Everton side of the football, you have Mopey, you have I think Garden might still be out. He's on red cards, card accumulation suspension, yeah. And Dwight McNeil as well. And Abdullah Decour, usually a guy who pops up and scores. But for me, my anytime goal scorer, I'm going to take my anytime goal scorer from Newcastle, and I'm going to go with Bruno Guimaraes for my anytime goal scorer. Alright, so Bruno Guimaraes to be my anytime goal scorer in this game, Newcastle versus Everton. And recapping predictions, I'm expecting Newcastle to win. Expecting both teams to score as well. In terms of combination, I'd say either to win and both to score. And in terms of my predicted scoreline, I'm saying 2-1 in favor of Newcastle. And also my anytime goal scorer to be Bruno Guimaraes. Alright, so those are my predictions for the Newcastle versus Everton game, and then we're going to skedaddle on over to Manchester United versus Tottenham Hotspurs. Alright, and for this game, this one's going to be a little bit interesting. I do believe Tottenham Hotspurs, they have been managing to drill out some victories, some tight ones, some close ones, yeah, against their opponents, and I think this one is not going to be any different. And as a result, I think the likelihood of this match ending in a draw is very high, and so therefore I wouldn't be surprised if this game ends in a draw. And so therefore I'm going to take this one to be a draw. Manchester United versus Tottenham Hotspurs, based on how both teams are playing, I think this one is going to end in a draw. Alright, so this one should end in a draw, and I'm going to have here both teams to score. Expecting this to be a scoring draw. In terms of scoreline, I'm going to have here 1-1 draw. In terms of anytime goal scorers, I'm going to say here we have the usual suspects. You have Cristiano if he starts as well. You have Martial. I think Martial was suffering from an injury, so I'm not sure if he's going to play. Anthony Rashford, Fernandez, Sancho, depends on the amount of time he gets, and he could score well. Eriksen should play in this game, I do believe. He didn't play over the weekend, if memory serves me correctly. Yes, so the Hotspurs side of football, you have Kane, you have Son Heung-min, you have Perisic, you have Højbjerg, that is. And you have Bentancur, he doesn't score much, but those guys can come up and give you a goal. And for me, my anytime goal scorer in this game, I'm going to take with me here Son Heung-min to be my anytime goal scorer. Right? So in terms of predictions for this game, Manchester United versus Tottenham Hotspurs, I'm expecting a draw here, and in terms of both teams scoring, I'm saying yes. In terms of predicted scoreline, I think we're going to have a 1-1 draw here. And for my anytime goal scorer, I'm going with Son Heung-min. Alright, so those are my predictions for the Manchester United versus Tottenham Hotspurs game. Alright, and then we're going to move on over to the next game, which is Fulham versus Aston Villa. And for this game, both coaches, they do need a victory, and so it's going to be an interesting one, to be honest with you. Both teams do need a victory, and both coaches rather need the victory, and so I think if either of them lose here, I think they could end up losing their job. Alright, so Fulham versus Aston Villa, and here in this game, I'm going to go with Fulham to win this one. And in terms of both teams scoring, I'm going to say yes. And in terms of a combination bet, I would go with the obvious, either to win and both to score. Predicted scoreline for me in this game, I'm taking 2-1 here for Fulham. Alright, so my anytime goal scorer as well, the usual suspects for Fulham, you have Mitrovic, you have Mitrovic, you have Pereira. James is getting some time, but he seems to be lacking the finishing touch. So he could score as well, depends on, and also William, depending on the amount of time he gets, he's usually a good free kick taker, so he could score as well. Also on the Aston Villa side of the football, depending on the amount of time Iggs gets, he can score as well. Watkins, I think Bailey is still out. We have Buendia, we have Ramsey, we have Magin, and we have Douglas Luiz. So all of those guys can come up with a goal at any point in this game. But for me, I'm going to go with the home team. I'm going to take my anytime goal scorer to be here. Anytime goal scorer to be Alexander Mitrovic, right? Alexander Mitrovic to be my anytime goal scorer. And so therefore, recapping predictions for Aston Villa versus Fulham. I'm expecting Fulham to win this game, and in terms of both teams scoring, I'm saying yes. And in terms of a combination bet, I'm saying either team to win and both to score. And my predicted scoreline is 2-1 in favor of Fulham, and my anytime goal scorer to be Alexander Mitrovic. Alright, so those are my predictions for the Fulham versus Aston Villa game, and then we're going to move on over to the final game of this game week, which is Leicester City versus Leeds United. Alright, this one should be an interesting one at the King Power. Leicester City's last game at the King Power ended in a draw. Mind you, I expected Leicester to win, but unfortunately they did not. And so for this game, Leeds versus Leicester, Leicester is going to have to be very careful here. Leeds, they're hot on the heels of they're competing, and they're not going to come to the King Power and play dead. I think it's going to be a very challenging match for Leicester City, and so they have to be watchful, and as a result, Leeds could come away here from the King Power with a victory. So Leicester City has to be very careful, and I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to take Leeds to win this one. Leeds to win, and I'm going to say both teams to score. In terms of a combination bet, I'm going with either to win and both to score. In terms of a predicted scoreline, I'm going to say here, I'm going to take a 2-1 victory for Leeds in this game, and otherwise it might be a 1-0 victory for them. But I think it's going to be an interesting one, a very close one, and it's anybody's game. As it relates to my anytime goal score, the usual suspects, you have Vardy, you have Daka, you have Iheanacho, you have Tillemans, you have Shrewsbury Hall, and also you have Madison also. Madison could come up and score at any point as well. As it relates to the Leeds side of the football, you have the usual suspect. You have Bramford and all of those guys. You have Bramford, you have Aronson, and all of those guys. You're not seeing their names here because Betway's yet to update that. But you have Aronson, you have Rodriguez is back as well. You have Bramford, missed the penalty over the weekend, unfortunately. And also you have Harrison, and also you have the other guys who usually does well for Leeds, and so any of those guys can come up and score. But for me, I'm going to take my anytime goal scorer to come from the home team, and I'm going to go with my anytime goal scorer. That is my anytime goal scorer. I'm going to take my anytime goal scorer from this team, and my anytime goal scorer, I'm going to go with Patson Daka to be my anytime goal scorer. Otherwise it would have been either Aronson or Bamford from Leeds to be my anytime goal scorer. So recapping predictions for this game, Leeds versus Leicester City. Leeds visiting the King Power here. I'm expecting Leeds to pull off a victory here, and also I'm expecting both teams to score. In terms of a combination, I'd say either to win and both to score, yes. And predicted scoreline 2-1 in favor of Leeds, and my anytime goal scorer to be Patson Daka. Alright, so those are my predictions for the Leicester City versus Leeds game, and that's how the cookie crumbles in my book for this game week in the English Premier League. And these are all your predictions, and I wish you happy betting. As I say usually, whenever you're making the betting slips, ensure you put at least minimum 3 predictions per slip and maximum 5. And so therefore, with that in mind, you stand a greater chance of winning. And so I wish you happy betting. Continue to watch my videos, share with your friends, share on your social media pages, like this video, subscribe to the channel so you get all the new videos as soon as they come out on a weekly basis. And I thank you for your support. Have a great weekend, and well, it's not a weekend this week. Have a great midweek, great betting. All right, thank you.